Once the face of PlayStation, Nathan Drake and the Uncharted series has gone a long time without a new mainline entry. It's now been a decade since Nate's story wrapped, and the question I'm asking in this video is, has it aged well? Does it stand the test of time 10 years later? Because I've been on something of a new retro binge recently, and 10 years ago was a fantastic time in video games, but sadly, not everything manages to catch the tide into the next generation and beyond. So 10 years later, is Uncharted 4: A Thief's End worth a play? I can't stress enough how important the stories of Uncharted are to me as a player. The fancy graphics and the Hollywood trailers sold me on the idea of an Indiana Jones-style adventure, but the stories are what kept me playing after my brain went, okay, this is the formula. Battle, explore, puzzle, explore, battle, and so on. The mystery unfolding between firefights kept me going, and my first encounter with Uncharted was with Uncharted 3, so I played them completely out of order. But my point is, the stories were my hook. For others, it was the cinematic gameplay, or the online multiplayer. But for me, it was being the main character in an action movie that actually felt like it was put together by Hollywood's finest. The production values from the beginning were insane, but the writing was just as important as the visuals, with the script punching above its weight, giving us one of the most lovable mass murderers in entertainment history. And then Uncharted 4 came along and decided what we needed was more feelings and family, and walking, and pushing, and walking, and some shooting, lots of climbing, a little swinging, more talking, and you get the point. I was not a fan of Uncharted 4's story back when it was new, and I can't say my opinion on it has changed at all over the last decade. If anything, I probably dislike it a little more with every breath I take, but that's a little bit petty. Let's just say that I'm not a fan of the direction the new writing team went with, because if you didn't know, there was a lot of behind-the-scenes drama at Naughty Dog with a power struggle among its peeps that saw series co-creator Amy Hennig booted out, and the story for Uncharted 4 being drastically altered to fit Druckmann's artistic vision of boring the fuck out of everybody. It does have its moments though, and credit where it's due, the acting is top tier, as always and as expected at this point. And the writing, while being the weakest part of the game, is still better than a lot of the tripe being put out today. It's just my inherent dislike for it that's skewing how I'm representing it. The general consensus is that it's okay, but it's missing the supernatural mystery aspect that the series had become known for, and there's too much focus on walking and talking. So I'm not far off public opinion. I'm just a bit more of a dick about it. It's nice that Nathan got an ending though, if I'm going to take any positive away from the story. Of course, the door is always open for his return, never say never, but it does deliver a plausible retirement where you can imagine Nathan Drake's adventuring days are well and truly put behind him, and he lives out the rest of his days as a boring normie who watches YouTube videos with their dinner. Obviously, graphics do not define a game, but in some cases, they kind of do. And in Uncharted 4's case, I'd argue the game was sold as such, a technical marvel to justify your investment in a pricey PS4. Because this was delayed, and PS4 players were made to wait a long time for Naughty Dog's first PS4 game, excluding the remasters by Bluepoint Games and The Last of Us Remastered, the very first one, because it's been done a few times now. The Uncharted games set their standards very high, very early, and the jump between Uncharted 1 and 2 cemented the series as a benchmark which others would be compared against, and with the series jumping to a new generation, expectations were through the roof. And Naughty Dog delivered. It was a fantastic looking game back on the original PS4, forgetting about any future enhancements or whatever. The raw product delivered on day one could be played today and you'd be happy with it. Yes, it's 30 FPS and that's a bit of a yucky one these days, but if a PS4 is literally all you've got, I recommend some earplugs too, then it's fine. Get over it. Chances are though that, like me, you've got a PS5 in the house and you're playing it on a hardware generation ahead of where the game began. In which case, you get the best possible version with a native PS5 release, the Legacy of Thieves collection, which bangs the frame rate up to 60 and the resolution up to 4K, and the results are great. It's easily up there with any modern 2026 game. The art style isn't quite timeless per se, but it's just about on the border of reaching for realism but staying within a certain stylized world. Almost like how an animated movie from 20 years ago is still watchable because you know it's portraying the real world, but not a quite real version. That's the best explanation I've got for it, and if you've got a better one, let me know in the comments. So yeah, graphically, thumbs up. Can't complain on any count. And given the fact it's been upgraded for PS5 and you can play it with all the bells and whistles, it's a real treat if it's your first introduction to the game. And if it is, I suggest going back to the original PS4 version if you can somehow, just to feel how Unc had to play it back in the day. This is a bit of a weird section because gameplay and graphics are kind of intertwined here, with each relying on the other to justify their existence. I've always said that the Uncharted gameplay is basic but tarted up fancy. And it is. Those cinematic climbing sequences, take away the fancy camera angles and the orchestral soundtrack, and you've got some fella climbing a wall. And that's the basics, and that's fine. The goal has always been in whatever visual entertainment medium to trick the viewer or participant to make the mundane seem spectacular, but also within reach. And that's part of the fun. But I can see through it right away, and it kind of spoils the illusion. And that's very much a me problem, probably caused by overthinking games for 20 years. Christ, is this a work-related brain injury? Do I see myself? I don't know, I'll figure that one out later. The point I was on my way to making is that Uncharted 4's gameplay isn't anything special, in my opinion. It's doing the basics to perfection, which makes it stand out in a crowd where good enough is all the budget can normally run to. Naughty Dog had Sony throwing money at them day and night. Of course, they can nail the basics to a fucking T and then dress them in pretty jewels and diamonds, which they did, and we love to look at pretty things. The open world section where you drive around as Naughty Dog does an open demo for whatever their next Not The Last of Us game will be is pretty cool, to be fair. And sneaking around like Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell also has its moments, but the gameplay is standard. The action sequences are bombastic and full of those high Hollywood production values, but it's all just set dressing. I'm convinced if this game was released with the exact same gameplay, but with the scope of a regular studio's budget, we wouldn't be talking about it today. But time travel has not yet been found, so we can't prove that theory. But if the chance comes along, I promise the second thing I do is go and test this theory. The first thing I do is... To answer the question I asked at the start, 10 years after Nathan Drake promised to do it one last time, well, he can go again. He's still got some miles in his legs, and after some recent enhancements, he's looking good as new. If you've got a PS5, play the native PS5 version and enjoy it for what it is. A must-play for fans of the series that deserve to see Nathan Drake's sunset. For everyone else though, it's a really good action-adventure game, let down by slow pacing and narrative nonsense. If you can only get it on PS4, it's still worth playing, and you'd be cosplaying as someone from 2016. You go, little time traveler. And that is the end of this video, and look, more stuff to watch. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, do me a solid and go on down below and hit the like and subscribe buttons, and give the bell icon a ding too so you're notified whenever there's something new to watch. It won't always be good, but I'll always put at least 20% effort into it, so those are your odds. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, cheers my dears.